Hello, this is Patrick, and this is part 2 of my top 40 albums of 2021. Part 1 featured number 40 through 26. Here I am doing 25 through 11. Similar to part 1, there is a couple of non-metal releases in this second part of my list, but for the most part, we're talking about extreme metal. And we're talking about a global scene that is represented. The Netherlands are represented. Sweden is represented. Of course, the United States, where I live, is represented. Russia is represented. Portugal is represented. Without further ado, let's do this. So, number 25 is, I left my records over here, so 1 second. Number 25 is one of the few non-metal releases. One of my favorite bands. I remember when I discovered them in 2008 for their album that was called Mean Everything to Nothing. They are a alternative rock, indie, heavy, beautiful rock band from Atlanta, Georgia. We're talking about Manchester Orchestra, and this is their album called The Million Mask of God. It is, anybody who does know this band, who happens to be watching this channel, knows that they continued in the direction from their previous album, and it is big, large, anthemic, catchy. Andy Hall's vocals carry the album. Hey, there's my doggy. Carry the album forward. It's probably their softest release yet. I love the lyrics. Again, the vocal performance from Andy is fantastic. I go back and forth regarding this album, as far as where it stacks in their discography. I do like when they get heavier and louder, such as Mean Everything to Nothing and Simple Math. But I like the direction the band went into over the last 5 or 6 years, and I'm excited to see where they go after this one. Sounds like you're listening to a movie. It's emotional. It is lush and cool drum performance. Yeah, check out Manchester Orchestra's The Million Mask of God if you're into indie rock, alternative rock, post-grunge type stuff. Up next is Malignant Alter with their album Realms of Exquisite Morbidity. This is a death metal band out of Texas, and it is just 6 songs that are heavy as hell. They kind of sound like Gojira, the Way of All Flesh era, as far as the groove and heavy tremolo focused music. Not as musical, not as catchy, but just the heavy parts, the heavy fast drums that Mario did in The Way of All Flesh. Malignant Alter just drops a slab of old school death metal very recently, and it found its way on my list because I listened to it a bunch. Not a whole lot of variety on the album, but just good, enjoyable, heavy death metal. I would say for fans of Tomb Mold and Outer Heaven. And yeah, Malignant Alter. What more do you need to say? So, number 23 is another old school death metal band, Death Doom Project, out of Seattle, Washington. Cerebral Rot and their album Excretion of Mortality. Check out track 1, Excretion of Mortality. Check out Retching Innards crowning the discutulent. vile yoke of contagion. This thing is just full of old, uh, old incantation worship. Very unique sounding band to me. Again, I always say, uh, some people, such as like Marty Worm on his channel, he says Cerebral Rat's good, but they basically sound similar to all these bands that are out right now doing old school death metal. He's the expert. He's the lifelong listener. So that's interesting. I think when I hear this band, they don't sound too much like any other band that bands that are trying to do a similar style. It's the tone, it's the aesthetic, it's the memorability, the riffy, the riff style to me stands out. Cerebral Rot is my number 23 pick of 2021. Number 22, I don't own a copy of this album, and this was a late addition to my list. I heard it when it first came out. I forgot about it. I knew it was good, so I knew I wanted to revisit it. I'm talking about the latest album from Asphyx and their album um, Necroceros. Um, Necroceros, Asphyx is, old school death doom band. They're legends. They've been around forever, and that's what this album sounds like. Just a band, well-oiled machine. They know how to write songs that are catchy, simple, memorable. Uh, one of the most unique styles of vocals out of Martin Van Drunen, and I, uh, yeah, this album to me is, again, if you're a fan of Autopsy, Obituary, if you for somehow haven't heard this band yet, then I think you should check out the latest from Asphyx. Number 21 is a debut album from this atmospheric death doom band out of Portugal. We're talking about Sepulcros and this album Vazio. Beautiful, beautiful artwork right here, which is why I pressed play on it when I first saw it. Again, an early 2021 release out on Transcending Obscurity Records. It's a full, complete listen. I would say for fans of that. I believe it was a '90s band, Thurgathon. A lot of similarities there. It's funeral doom, but it has the harsh death vocals that make it funeral death doom. There are atmospheric parts that remind me of Deftones. Um, don't ask how I hear it, but I hear it. And since it's been a while since I showed this album, also a very beautiful variant. Check this out. I think it's limited out of 100 or 200. I'm not sure. Lucky to have it in my collection. Funeral Death Doom. The band is Sepulcros. They're from Portugal. And it is my number 21 pick of 2021. 20. Another very recent release that was a list killer. Phrenolith and their album Chimera. For some reason, this band sounds exactly like the band that I would want to play in. They just play a certain style of evil sounding death metal that doesn't sound, kitschy or funny, cheesy. I just love what the band does. My head is constantly banging when I'm listening to it. Cool atmosphere, cool riffs, great vocal integration. I would say for fans of Gorphelia, Hyperdontia, they are from Denmark and they kick ass. Number 19 is Lingua Ignota with Sinner Get Ready. This is Lingua Ignota's real name is Kristen Hayter. She's a multi-instrumentalist, classically trained pianist, classically trained vocalist. One of my favorite vocalists that I've discovered over the last year. I still remember when I heard the first song that was released, Pennsylvania Furnace. I was just sitting in my bed late, very, very late at night, which is fitting, watched the video, and I was just overtaken by the emotions, the beauty, and just eager to dive in and check out her catalog. And this is not a metal album, but I would say it's classical, folk, post-metal, avant-garde. Guignata, Sinner, get ready. If you like Emma Ruth Grundle, if you like Chelsea Wolfe, then Guignata. She rules. She deserves your support. Check her out. Number 18. This band makes me smile. I struggle with liking thrash bands. Make it blackened, make it quite heavy, and I'll listen to it. Demiser, Through the Gate Eternal. It's my number 18 album of the year. This band just kicks ass. Fast, aggressive, speedy, blackened thrash metal. Some parts sound death metal with the tremolos. Can't wait to see what they do next out on Metal Blade. Demiser. Some of the songs you should check out are Through the Gate Eternal, Offering, Death Strike, Demiser the Demiser. Demiser the Demiser. This shit just rules. It makes me feel pumped up. It sounds like a battle in hell. It's nuts. It's awesome. Shreddy, black and thrash. Demiser. Out on Boris Records. They're from South Carolina. Next up is another album that's not really a metal release. They're a post-metal shoegaze band we all know and love. From California, Deaf Heaven. And even though I say we all know and love, I actually really hadn't checked out. Why can't I speak right now? I actually hadn't checked out much of their catalog. My girlfriend would have it on sometimes. I would like what I would be hearing. This is the first full length that I checked out from front to back. I love it. Again, it's my number 17 album of 2021. I've listened to over 150, maybe 200 albums that came out this year. Certainly more than 200 when you count EPs. Post-black metal shoegaze, very poppy, catchy, lush record. Memorable vocals, memorable lyrics. Some of the most personal lyrics for me that I discovered over the last year. Reminds me of Circa Survive. Yeah, not much metal on this album, except the drumming performance is the performance of an extreme metal drummer, and that is awesome. You can really hear all the parts due to it being a clean, very cleanly produced, but also cleanly played album. The last song ends with still that black metal shrieking vocals that come in and surprise you at the end. This album is, again, awesome. Deaf Heaven, Infinite Granite, my number 17 favorite album of 2021. 16, this is also basically my favorite album cover of the year. The band I might have spent the most money on, there's probably a couple others if you include live shows, but I have two shirts. My favorite album cover of the year, Gravesin, with their album Methods of Human Disposal. This is their debut. They're from New York, New York. Out on 20 bucks spin. Black metal, grindcore, death metal. Awesome. Just gets me pumped up, kind of like Demiser. It's grimy. It's about the hard streets of New York. You hear rats scurrying around, and yeah, just it's Gravesend helped me get more into blackened stuff, helped me get more into grindcore. They also put out an EP that was a flexi disc out on Decibel a couple months ago. Those songs sound killer. I would be excited to hear this band live. Hard to decipher the lyrics. I'm sorry, hard to decipher the vocals, but that's fitting for this kind of music. Maybe if you like Pissgrave, but want it to be a bit more understandable, a bit more decipherable. Some Napalm Death in there. But Gravesend, if I ever start a patch collection, I want this patch. Methods of Human Disposal is my number 16 album of 2021. Up next, one of my first discoveries of the year. This is a hardcore album, hardcore band. Obstruction out of Sweden, Monarchs of Decay, kick-ass, aggressive, metallic hardcore. One of my favorite guitar tones of the year. And on paper, it's not super distinct, but it just does something for me. All the best parts of hardcore, there are sort of these like teasing metal leads that come in only for a little bit to just get back to the crunchy hardcore. Obstruction kicks ass. I also would love to see this band live. It would be so fun. Also a very cool variant. Obstruction. Check them out if you like hardcore at all. It's like if Slayer was a hardcore band or something. It just kicks ass. So, number 14 is a debut death metal album from these high schoolers from Finland. Morbific with the ominous seep of putridity. They sound like they've been playing for a long time. They know how to write catchy death metal riffs. That's not hard. It's not easy. What do I know? I mean, none of this is easy for me, but I just know that catchy death metal riffs are not easy. It's melodic without being mellow death. For fans of Demolish and Autopsy. Yeah, just as Decibel puts it, a track by track masterpiece. Check out Morbific. Just an absolute killer release from these young kids out of Finland. They recorded this according to their interview on Ken's Death Metal Crypt. They recorded this in their high school studio with whatever instruments were laying around. I don't even know. Morbific, number 14. 13, another debut album. We're talking about Moscow, Russia, death metal, Gosudar, and their album Morbid Despotic Ritual, Morbid Angel, Gajira. Hard to really compare them. They also kind of sound like another band that came out this year, their debut album by another band, Apparition. But Gosudar, this is just killer stuff. Groovy. It gets better as the tracks play out. The penultimate or second to last song, Insurrection of Nephilim. Check that song out. It's the best on the album. Riff after riff, part after part. This rules. Look at that killer artwork. Gosudar. Awesome death metal debut album. Again, old school death metal, but really modern as well. Doesn't sound derivative. Very cool. Number 12 is a also out. Excuse me. No, that's number 11. Number 12 is Fua and the album 2. One man project out of Scotland. raw, simple, beautiful tremolos. The drumming sounds like Russian circles, has this cold atmosphere. For fans of Valdrin and Aura and Vendir, just put it on, kick back, relax, put your feet up, and let this take you to this scene right here. It sounds like they're preparing for a battle in the northern icy mountaintops of Scotland. Yeah, just a very good atmospheric black metal release that I knew I had to pick up. Basically, right when I heard it the first time. Really love this release. Hua, and the album title is number 2. Number 11, almost made my top 10, is another one-man black metal project out of Moscow, Russia. Malist Karst Relic is the name of the album, and I believe a karst is a term that is applied to terrain with distinctive landforms and underground drainage systems that form as a consequence of the solubility of certain rock types, particularly limestone and water. And I believe karst relic is used to denote landforms inherited from earlier climatic or drainage regimes, but still subject to modification by current conditions, and that describes the album. They bring in these ancient sounding, yeah, and that means like, late 80s, early 90s black metal, but modern production, modern flourishes. There are acoustic passages. Some parts are more aggressive, but it's always catchy and memorable. The lyrics are in Russian. Uh, Emotional stuff. Don't really know, who else to really compare this to. If you're interested at all in atmospheric black metal or black metal, give this a listen. There's a lot of dynamics in this album, a lot of feelings it will pour out of you, even though if you don't speak Russian, you don't read Cyrillic, you won't understand them. It just knows how to create a really emotive feeling. This is Malist with Karst Relic, my number 11 album, 2021. And this has been part 2, and part 1 is still on its way. Please like, comment, and subscribe. What are your favorite albums? Put them in the comments. What do you like that I showed? What don't you like that I showed? Yeah, let's have some fun in the comments. And talk to you all soon. This has been Patrick with another edition of Heavy Therapy.